Good evening, and welcome to our audience here in the room and the audience at home. This is the second night of our candidate nights on Tahoe-Truckee Media. I'm Rory O'Farrell, the manager of Tahoe-Truckee Media. We are sponsored here tonight by the Contractors Association of Truckee Tahoe, PAC, by the Tahoe Sierra Board of Realtors, the Truckee Chamber of Commerce, and by Tahoe-Truckee Media. The forums are made possible also with the generous cooperation of our media partners, Moonshine, Inc. and Sierra Sun. These forums are being televised at Tahoe-Truckee Media Suddenlink Channel 18. They are live streamed at www.tahoe-truckeemedia.org. So if you wish to see last night's program, it's up there and available, and this one will be right there with it as soon as this meeting is over. The opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. They do not necessarily reflect the positions of TTM, TTUSD, the program sponsors, or the town of Truckee. In the interest of health and safety, the public is not in attendance tonight. We do have a small crowd of mostly other candidates here in the room watching. They are encouraged to wear masks when they are not speaking, and the dais will be wiped down between each segment. And again, we ask those who are in the room to please silence your phones at this time. Tonight's questions have been submitted by the community and vetted by a committee including me and Moonshine, Inc. and the Sierra Sun. Questions may not be stated verbatim as you wrote them. If we use your question, or several questions may have been combined to and edited from several submissions. Asking the questions this evening will be Brian Hamilton, Sierra Sun, and the Union, and Mayumi Elegado of Moonshine, Inc. Tonight we will be featuring candidates for North Tahoe Public Utility District Board. The Truckee Tahoe Airport District Board will have a statement on Measure K, and the candidates from Truckee Donner Public Utility District Board. So we're going to start tonight with North Tahoe's Public Utility District Board. There are 3 seats open and 4 candidates running. Voters will have the opportunity then to choose 3 candidates on your ballot. The speaking order has been chosen as random, so we'll start with one person at random from this board, then we'll go in alphabetical order and keep rotating so everyone has a chance to be the first answer on each question. So each candidate will now have a 1-minute opening statement to make. They'll be followed by 3 questions from our print press, and then they will have a 2-minute closing. One more thing. Tonight's timekeeper is Lynn Saunders of the Truckee Chamber of Commerce. Lynn is sitting there. If you have in a 1-minute segment, if you have 15 seconds left, she will raise a yellow card, and at cutoff time, she gives you the red card. If you'll excuse me at that point, I will cut you off. Not to be inelegant, but we're going to keep this level playing field and try to keep on schedule for tonight. So, North Tahoe PUD, Mr. Thompson, you will be our first contestant. You have 1 minute to make your introductory statement, and you may proceed.
Good evening. My name is Phil Thompson. I'm running for the North Tahoe Public Utility District Board of Directors. I've lived on the North Shore of Lake Tahoe pretty much my entire life. I started kindergarten at Kings Beach Elementary, went to Tahoe-Truckee High School, graduated with a bachelor's degree from Sacramento State University, and I have been a general building contractor and general engineering contractor on the North Shore for over 40 years. I believe my experience as a contractor has helped our utility district a lot, And on my closing statement, I'm going to spend time giving you one example how I've saved the district a lot of money. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Ms. Sarah Coolidge, you're next.
Right. There's the red light. Thank you to all the sponsors tonight. It's wonderful to have an opportunity to speak with our voters during this really challenging campaign. I celebrate that you get to hear from 3 out of 4 of the outstanding candidates for the North Tahoe Public Utility District Board, because we now have open elections in North Tahoe and we all have to campaign for your vote. This is a change I was advocating for even before I was elected for my first term. I'm speaking to you tonight to ask for your vote to re-elect me as a board member of the North Tahoe Public Utility District. We've accomplished a lot in the last 4 years, and there's still a lot to do. The NTPUD has been through some big changes, and I've been honored to serve during that time. However, much of this is foundational work that requires consistency to see it come to full fruition. For the district and all of its members, I ask you to re-elect me to the board for another 4 years to support that fruition. I'm looking forward to our discussion, knowing it will be very brief. I encourage you to go to sarahcoolidge.com and remember to vote for Sarah Coolidge on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Ms. Danielle Hughes is our third candidate here tonight.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Danielle Hughes, and I'm running for the North Tahoe Public Utility District Board. I've been living working in Tahoe for over 15 years, and I'm a resident of Carnelian Bay, where I live with my 10-year-old son. And I can't imagine a better place to raise him. I'm dedicated to improving our community and have served as a court-appointed special advocate for children in the foster system, a fire-adapted community leader for Carnelian Bay, and served on the Tahoe Resource Conservation District Board and the Sugar Pine Foundation Board of Directors. My experience serving as a director, working for a board of directors, and my professional experience in water quality, resource protection, land use, transportation, and recreation will assist the district in bringing creative solutions forward into executable actions. I work across planning, policy, project implementation, operations, and monitoring, and I have the experience to make informed decisions. If you elect me, I am fully committed to working towards finding common ground with members of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Mr. Tim Farrell is not here tonight, so we are going to proceed now to our question and answer portion of the forum. Remember, keep your answers 1 minute or less. And for the first question, here's Mayumi Elegado of Moonshine, Inc.
Good evening. I'm honored to be here, and thank you all for attending. The district is falling short of the 20% by 2020 mandate that all water purveyors in the state reduce their per capita use. In your mind, what are the main reasons the district is struggling with the mandate, and how can these issues be addressed?
Ms. Coolidge, if you would take the first answer.
We've been working really hard on this for 4 or 5 years. You can see the graphs anytime you look at our board packets and come to our meetings. We talk about it every month. We've been working on blocking leaks. There's a lot of leaks in our old pipes because they're old, and so we've done a lot of work there, and we've actually very much reduced the amount of water that's being used or lost through that. Of course, the challenge is we have a huge population increase or influx, especially in the summer, and when they come in, they're not considered the same residents as the people that live here year-round, and they use a lot of water. And a lot of them do not know very much about what happens locally in terms of our water usage and our efforts to keep that usage low. So it's a challenge, and I think that we've actually done very well at it, even if we may month to month occasionally not be meeting that standard. Overall, we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Coolidge, Ms. Hughes, you are next.
So I think it is a challenging issue to handle, especially with the second homes that we have up here and the increased demand that we have during the summer season. I think it's also going to even be more challenging as we're seeing our populations kind of shift. I think we expect to see population growth right now, and wonder how that will change, how that we'll have a whole new community to educate on our water issues here in Lake Tahoe. I think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done with the replacement of water lines within the PUD district as well.
Thank you. And Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, it's been a challenge. It does not appear that we're going to make the 2020, and we're fighting very hard to do that. We're replacing many water lines to try to fix the leaks. We have cut way back on our own irrigation. Irrigation is a big problem for water use because it's the same water that's used for drinking water. And we've sent out letters to the top 200 people that use more water than they should be using to try to control it. It's a tough thing because you cannot mandate it. We actually have changed our rate structure so that instead of being charged from the first 6,000 gallons, you're being charged for the first 1 gallon. And so we're doing our best to try to get it under control and meet the 2020 deadline. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. We'll go down to question 2. This is going to come from Brian Hamilton from the Union and the Sun. And Ms. Hughes, you will take the first answer.
Thank you, and thanks for having me as well, Rory. How can the district best support the community during this pandemic we're all experiencing?
Oh, well, I think, it's challenging, especially with the recreation resources. I think we've seen a significant demand this summer. I think the travel patterns have changed. Our visitor patterns have changed. We have a lot more people here staying, 2 and 3 weeks at a time because they can work remotely. And so I think they have to balance those demands. I think it's making a lot of our community members nervous with all of those people accessing those resources, and I think they need to, we're working on signage, better in community engagement on education on how to handle the trash that we have in those areas. I also think it's still trying to educate the people. I think our water resources are important as well. As I mentioned, we have populations changing, new people coming here, and I think educating them on the water use. So.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson?
Yes, what we've done is we've had to shut down our event center, which is one of our main moneymakers. We've shut down our park. We've closed down all the kids' playgrounds. All of our workforce is working on 2 different shifts so that in case somebody gets sick, it won't affect the whole district because our job is to keep fresh water running and sewer flowing. The recreation, it's tough, but we've literally just had to shut it down until this pandemic is over. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Ms. Coolidge.
The number one thing that we did very quickly was institute a rate relief program so that we could assist any of our local district ratepayers if they needed financial assistance, and we are able to look at doing more of that if we need to do that. We're very proud of how quickly we were able to act. We also, of course, will have to continue water and sewer service. Everybody sort of takes this stuff for granted, but you sure wouldn't want to be losing that service as well as some of the other hardships that we all have to face, and that is all continuing. We actually did open up our event center briefly so that we could allow for COVID testing there to make it even more available to our local residents. And we have very strong community relationships with the Boys and Girls Clubs, Placer County, Tahoe City, PUD, and those partnerships are going to serve us well in the future as we deal with whatever comes next with COVID, as well as over the last 4 years building a very strong online presence, something that I'm very proud to have contributed to and advocated for, because of course all of us are doing everything online these days.
Thank you, Ms. Coolidge. We'll go now to question 3, and Mr. Thompson, you'll be the first to answer this one.
There are numerous agencies in the region for wastewater management. What are your thoughts on the current structure, and what areas would you target for improvement?
Could you start the first part of that again?
Yep. Numerous agencies in the area handle wastewater management in the region. What are your thoughts on the current structure, and what areas would you target for improvement?
We work very hard replacing sewer lines. We work with the Tahoe-Truckee Sanitation Agency because they are the end result of where our sewage flows to. We have a member on the board that represents the people of North Tahoe PUD, and we actually have a board member. Sarah does a great job. She goes to a lot of the meetings and listens to what they have to say. Unfortunately, it's like our board meetings. We cannot hear what happens in closed session. We can only know what happens in open session. So, but as far as the North Tahoe PUD goes, our sewage is in great shape. Our sewer pumps, we're working on the pumps, we're working on the lines, so we're in fine shape. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. And Ms. Coolidge?
In terms of the numerous systems, all of them, as you probably know, because of the California environmental laws, we have to pump our sewage out of the basin and into Truckee for processing. And this is a cumbersome system compared to what others may have to deal with in other areas. However, it's obviously a great system for protecting Lake Tahoe, and we are certainly behind that 100%. We are not responsible for what happens after the sewage leaves our district, but we do, as Director Thompson told you, have an appointed member on the TTSA board, and we are very active and very interested in what's happening at that board because it has a direct impact on our ratepayers as well as a direct impact on us if for some reason they chose to do something different with the sewage that they accept from us and process for us. So the current structure, meaning that we have many districts in the region, is something that I think over time all of us would like to see economies of scale as well as consistency across the board whenever we can have it. But in terms of perhaps joining districts or consolidating, that's something that would have to come from the voters and beyond us.
All right. Time's up. Yes. Missed your signal, and I'll be less distracted. Thank you. Ms. Hughes, please.
Yeah, so I think in a couple of different areas. I think TTSA, the involvement in TTSA, we probably need to be, I'd like to see a board member actually participate in that position, and so that we could actually have some direct interaction there. My background is hydrology and water quality, so I definitely would like to, be able to understand their quality assurance, quality control methods that they have there. I also think with climate change and adaptation strategies, we should, in the Lake Tahoe Basin, we actually really need to look at alternative use of our wastewater or alternative treatment systems and exporting. I think it's a significant energy consumption cost throughout the basin. I would love to see all of the utility districts kind of look at new opportunities for that wastewater. And then I think on recreation, it's really just kind of coming together and making sure some of the, resources for our communities, for my son plays soccer, baseball, and having those all cohesive and work together is really good, and then looking at the fire capacity of our water infrastructure as a whole.
And thank you very much. We will now move along to the closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make the closing statement, and Ms. Coolidge, we will begin with you.
When you elected me 4 years ago, I ran on a platform of maintaining our water and sewer systems as well as addressing our continuing financial issues with recreation and parks. In addition, I advocated for increasing our boards and staff's roles as leaders within our community, playing our part in addressing our region's housing crisis, increasing our collaboration with other regional districts and agencies, and working to modernize our technology and ability to outreach to our community. I'm proud to say we have made great strides in all of those areas. There's still much to do. While we have a new 5-year capital improvement plan and a 5-year rate plan to support it, it remains for us to implement it in the first few years. with a 300% increase in infrastructure repair and replacement that those plans call for. There's a lot more, of course. My long history with our region began when my father partnered with 9 of his friends to open Alpine Meadows over 60 years ago. I have raised my family here and served in a variety of positions in community development and adult education. My postgraduate work is in training and development for business and industry. I'm certified in strategic planning, extensive training in communication, leadership, and management styles, and I am the only board member who is bilingual in Spanish, and my unique perspective has repeatedly brought fresh ideas to our board. Any board of directors functions best when there are a variety of viewpoints: historians to reference past experience, subject matter experts for project details, and a visionary voice who is willing to ask questions about impact, the future, and the community at large. I am that visionary voice on our board, and I ask that you keep that voice active by re-electing me on November 3rd. Of course, there's more to share, so please go to sarahcoolidge.com. Vote for dedication, innovation, and progress for North Tahoe. Vote for Sarah Coolidge, November 3rd. Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Coolidge. Ms. Hughes, your closing statement.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself this evening. Our world has been turned upside down this year, and things remain uncertain. While we seek for a new sense of normal, there is an opportunity to create a better path forward. We will, in all probability, see long-lasting population increases, increased recreation demand, and associated impacts that go along with that, wildfire risk, and economic pressures on our communities, businesses, and local resources. We need leaders who aren't reaching for yesterday's solutions to today's problems, but instead are applying creative, out-of-the-box thinking to address challenges, balance the demand, and plan for a better tomorrow. Lake Tahoe will continue to be a magical draw for many. Understanding that, we need bold, visionary leadership to carry us forward and assure that the resources are protected, our quality of life remains, and that we leave a legacy for all of our children and future generations to enjoy. Your vote for me for North Tahoe PUD will ensure that you have that leadership. For more information, you can go to Danielle Hughes for North Tahoe for ntpud.com.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. And finally, Mr. Thompson, your closing statement.
Yes, our job on the board of directors mostly is to figure out how to spend our money wisely, and I use a common sense approach of experiences I have as a general building contractor and general engineering contractor. I'm going to give you an example. When our base facility was being built, it was designed when I got on the board, and they had a building that had the bathrooms all the way at one end of the building, which was about 100 steps for the people at one end to go to the bathroom. And I said, that seems like an awful waste of time. They had also designed a 2-bedroom apartment for the 3rd floor of the building, and I brought to the board's attention, I said, why do we want to do that? And they said, so that we have a place for our employees that don't live here to stay when the weather's bad. I said, do you realize that's going to cost between $250,000 and $300,000? And the board decided it was not worth spending that much money, and so they took it off the plans. I also have experience doing sewer and water lines. I'm a general engineering contractor. I could do sewer and water lines for entire cities under my license. So I like to use my experience as a general contractor to try to save the taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson, and thank you all for being willing to serve the community. Again, there will be 3 open seats for North Tahoe PUD, so you may vote for 3 on your ballot. We're going to take a short break now. We will reset the dais for the Truckee Tahoe Airport Board candidates. Hope you'll all stay with us. We will return in approximately 5 minutes. Welcome back for the second of 3 segments this evening, being sponsored by the Contractors Association of Truckee, PAC, the Tahoe Sierra Board of Realtors, the Truckee Chamber of Commerce, and by Tahoe-Truckee Media. These forums are also made possible with the generous cooperation of our media partners, Moonshine Inc. and Sierra Sun. This segment features candidates for the Truckee Tahoe Airport District Board. This election, there are 3 open seats and 5 candidates running. And we actually are trying something new here. Mr. David Diamond is in Cleveland, joining us via Zoom. And then we have the Mr. Aronson, Rick Stevens, and Leigh Golden in the room here with us. And Ms. Odette is unfortunately not with us this evening, so we will continue with the 4 of us. And please bear with us. It's a almost coast-to-coast connection here, and kind of a first for our forums. But we will start with opening statements. And we will start with Leigh Golden, please. 1 minute for your opening statement, Mr. Golden.
Good evening. My name's Leigh Golden. I'm running for a seat on the Truckee Tahoe Airport Board. It's a privilege to be here, and thanks to everybody. The airport board needs pilots seated. I am a professional pilot, retired airline pilot. I've been flying for 40 years, as well as maintaining and inspecting aircraft for 40 years. And we have a lot of neat things coming along with the next gen that the FAA is implementing. Next generation has to do with navigation and flight procedures in and out of our airport and airports all over the country. I'm currently flying a King Air F90-1 out of Truckee. So I'm seeing firsthand how the next gen is going to implement into our airspace use here at the Truckee Tahoe Airport. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Golden. Rick Stevens, you are next.
I am Rick Stevens. I'm a
Mike, Rick.
Thank you. Gosh. I am Rick Stevens. I'm a non-pilot community member running for re-election to the airport board. In 2016, I ran on the platform of keeping the airport safe, working on noise and annoyance, and spending more of the $6 million in property tax that collected from all the properties in the district on the communities where it is collected. We've made progress, but there is more to do. On the air side, in 2016, there was no tower. Now there's a year-round tower. When the new ADS-B flight control system is operational next year, the tower will have more positive control where airplanes fly. This will help, but not eliminate noise and annoyance. Since elected in 2016, the airport has significantly increased property tax expenditures on all of the communities that pay those taxes. I support this because community matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Ken Aronson, you are next for the opening statement.
My name is Ken Aronson, and I'm running for a seat on the Truckee Tahoe Airport Board. I'm a 30-plus year resident of Truckee with over 40 years as a private pilot. I come to the airport almost every day, now that I'm retired, to appreciate the benefits airplanes and airports bring to a modern society. We have helicopters and firefighting operations going on right now. For over 10 years, I have volunteered hundreds, if not thousands of hours for several programs at the airport. I was commander for the Civil Air Patrol. I'm still on the command staff. I created and run the Mission to Mars Space Camp for the community youth. It's a STEM-based program for the youth. I'm a member of the Experimental Aircraft Association and have helped quite a bit with the air show. I know I'm familiar with what the aviation and non-aviation community wants at the airport. The parents have told me so. They want more STEM or STEAM-inspired space camps year-round. I call it STEM Day Saturdays if we had room. I am advocating an airport for all. The airport's a great place. There's over 400 non-aviation.
Thank you, Mr. Aronson.
Thank you.
Time's up. And now we will go to Cleveland. Mr. David Diamond joining us via Zoom.
Hi, thank you. My name is David Diamond. I'm a Prosser Lakeview homeowner and a pilot. I own a small plane hangared at our airport that I use to fly volunteer animal rescues for pilots and paws. I have directed global marketing for international firms, authored books, and I co-founded the band Berlin. I also chair ACAT, the community advisory team at the airport. In the 2.5 years I've been on ACAT, I've introduced 4 board-approved projects that benefit pilots and the community. Airport staff and board directors have told me that we've become the most productive, action-oriented ACAT in the airport's history, and I'll bring that action to the board. My marketing background helps me imagine new solutions to old problems, and my sense of fairness will help ensure that airport investments are always balanced and reasonable. Please help me make our airport a better community partner for all of North Tahoe and Truckee. Join me at diamond2020.com. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That brings us to our question and answer portion of the forum. Please keep your answers, again, to 1 minute. Mr. Stevens, you will field the first question first. You'll have the first answer, and Brian Hamilton is at the podium to present that first question.
Thank you. What are your thoughts on the current air traffic in and out of the airport? In addition to recommended flight times and paths, as well as the ADSB system installed, are there other tools that the district should explore to manage traffic?
Air traffic is up. We thought maybe it would be less under COVID. It's the other way around. It's up. And the critical thing is ADSB is have positive control on airplanes. That will allow planes to be directed more accurately on departure. Use of the crosswind runway would help a lot too, but that also depends on wind. So I supported the installation of the tower, the year-round tower, ADSB. All that took a lot of money to try and control for safety and for noise and annoyance.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Mr. Aronson, your answer?
Yes, my name's Ken Aronson. I think one of the biggest things we can do at the airport is education on who's flying in, flying out. We should be spending some more on the infrastructure. There's a runway, we call it runway 2, that goes north. It's sort of a secondary runway. I would be advocating for that to be improved to a primary standards so that the pilots flying in and flying out would have 2 runways to use to avoid the noise-sensitive areas, especially going north. They would fly up to Stampede. And I would encourage a little bit more of, we call it rusty pilot seminars, where we could have educate the pilots flying in and out of the airport. Education, I believe, would be a big help. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Diamond, your answer.
It's important to understand that the airport cannot control the traffic that comes in and out. That's mandated by FAA that we have to leave that traffic available. What we can do is diversify flight plans so that single neighborhoods are not overly affected by constant flows of air traffic. We are starting to look into that right now, and ADSB is making that possible through diversification of departure procedures. So I support us working on that. Primarily, it's going to take another few years to get that, but when that's going, I think that that's the best thing that we can do at this point in time. Air traffic is up 3 times since 2005, and that curve is going up exponentially since 2014. So I want to get a 10-year plan in place for how we're going to deal with the traffic and how we're going to deal with the resulting noise from that traffic. And I look forward to working with board members on that plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Golden.
Thank you. I agree the infrastructure improvements at the airport, particularly lengthening runway 220, would make a huge difference. It would allow operators much more flexibility to safely fly in and fly out when conditions warrant safe use of that runway. An extension of the approach end to runway 29, which is our west-facing runway, is called the displaced threshold. That could be implemented. It's a fiduciary, it's a responsible thing to do. It's not hugely expensive, but it would allow airplanes to be much higher over affected neighborhood as they depart to the west, and a lot of them are under instrument flight plan rules, and they must obey those rules to the letter of the law, and they do head out to the north, out to a intersection to get into the air route traffic control system. So they are bound by regulation to do what they do. And that's just the beginning, but there's a lot of things we can look at here. And thank you.
That's it, Mr. Stevens. Thank you very much. Sorry, Mr. Golden. We will now move along to question 2, and Mr. Stevens, you will take the first answer.
Is it Mr. Stevens?
It's Miss. It was Odette, but she's not here.
Right, so should we move the order?
No, he'll take the first answer. Yeah.
He did take the first answer.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. So let's mix it up. Mr. Aronson, you will take the first answer that Mayumi Elegado will pose to you.
I saved you, Rick, so you should thank me later. No, I'm just kidding. The district has traditionally sponsored other efforts to address community needs, such as providing space on site for organizations like the Truckee Roundhouse and joining in the Truckee-Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency, a JPA with the school, utility, and hospital districts. What are some of the causes, issues that you'd like to see the district support?
My name's Ken Aronson again. I would like to see a lot more for the innovation of the airport. We do a space camp at the airport called Mission to Mars Space Camp for the youth. We do the 3 camps in the summer. There's no space to do it any other time of the year. We have to borrow a hangar. I'm advocating for the Hangar 3, the Hangar 2-3 project called the Community Activity Hangar, that we could do these space camps year-round. It would really help with the STEM or STEAM, science, technology, engineering, and math, that the children would really benefit from. I think if we had some of that infrastructure built up, we could have a lot more activities at the airport that would much more benefit the airport. I'm advocating an airport for all. We really enjoy people coming out to the airport, seeing what's going on, and I would really like to see the infrastructure to include Hangar 2-3 Community Activity Hangar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, Mr. Diamond.
I would like to establish a 10-year strategy to increase our air traffic trends, which I talked about before. We need to see where we're going, and we all need to be in agreement about that. I'd also like to look into establishing a program through which airport partners with other agencies throughout North Tahoe and Truckee to provide matching funds to property owners for defensible space and other fire prevention needs. Chief Saline from Truckee Fire told me he likes this idea very much, because a single unprepared house can be the ignition source for an entire neighborhood. Sometimes folks don't have the money to do what's needed, so this could help. And by hiring locals to do the work, we keep those tax dollars in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Golden.
Thank you. Yes, I'm in total agreement. The community hangar 2 and 3 was proposed years ago, and it never came to fruition after Mr. Robert Todd's hangar fell down in a snowstorm. And I would really like to see that project moved along, and that would go in conjunction with the improvements to runway 220 as previously mentioned. This hangar would provide thermal de-icing for aircraft as needed, and also it would be a place for the community to come for all types of activities. We have hundreds of activities that are taking place at the airport, and we've run out of room to do this, and this facility would provide a great place for the community to come and do all kinds of things from art to STEM, STEAM. The possibilities are really endless, and it would bring the community to the airport to see all the great things that are offered here. Thank you.
And thank you, sir. Mr. Stevens?
Yes, we did put Roundhouse at the end of the warehouse building, but additional to that, we had another 4,000 come vacant, and I sponsored, pushed, encouraged the food hub to move from Alpine to the warehouse, and we helped them with tenant improvements. And the food hub is fully operational, has been critical during COVID for providing food boxes, but also food for, and they've helped people who are food challenged in the district. The next 4,000 feet next to that, Project Mana, went through a big selection process. We put Project Mana in there. They're soon to be open, and they also allocated 1,000 feet for Meals on Wheels. We have put in containers We're putting in containers for storage for nonprofits. There's just a huge demand for that on the airport.
And thank you, sir. We will now go to question number 3. Mr. Diamond, you will have the first answer for question number 3. That will be posed by Brian Hamilton.
With the fact that this special district has had contested seats the past few election cycles and considerable campaign war chest raised, speak to why you think this is such a sought-after seat.
That's a great question. I think that there's two sides that are interested in this. Those of us who are coming from the airport side and those of us who are coming from the community side. Because the airport does collect property taxes, approximately $7 million right now, there's a lot of interest in what the airport does with those funds. When the special district was created in 1958, there could have had no imagination that we would be generating $7 million in addition in revenues right now, which we are through fuel sales and hangar leases and other vendor contracts. So we get to a point now where we've got this money. We don't need all of it for airport operations, and people are justifiably interested in how we benefit the community with these funds.
Thank you. Mr. Golden?
Could you field the question again, please?
Sure. With the fact that this special district has had contested seats and the past few election cycles, considerable campaign war chests raised, speak to why you think this is such a sought-after seat.
Thank you. For me, I care about this airport and the community that surrounds it. I've been flying in and out of here since the late 70s in all types of aircraft. The importance of having a good diversified group of people on the board that are qualified in their specific fields cannot go understated. And I'm passionate about helping this airport become even greater than it already is as far as a community asset, firefighting, air ambulance work, the helicopters. The list goes on, and it's a very important asset for our community, and I want to help that along. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
2018 was unusual. We had 2 pilots who were filing, and when the third person, Mary Hetherington, filed, the pilot community chipped in big time and raised almost $90,000. It's very interesting. I happen to agree with these gentlemen that the airport board needs pilots on the airport because it is an airport on the board. But Mary Hetherington, who only had $1,400, came in second in that election. And so it isn't all about the money. And it was with some great difficulty we did pass a policy instruction for disclosure of campaign donations above $250 to a candidate or a board member who has business with the airport. Not hangars, but business like the FBO. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Aronson?
Well, like we've said before for the airport, there's a lot of money coming in from the taxpayers. Not too many people in the community are pilots, so they feel, why are we paying for an airport we don't get benefit from? I feel the airport is a very big asset to the airport, and I'm very concerned that we won't be able to use it full extent that the airport offers the community. There's a lot of noise problems and annoyance problems. Being a pilot, I understand flying in and out of the airport, what's required. I do know what is required for improvements to the airport, and I feel that because there's a lot of noise, a lot of people want it shut down. I don't want it shut down, so there's a big problem with the non-pilot and pilot community, and that's why it's very contested. There's a lot of issues at the airport. I want to be a part and work with the airport. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we will now move to the closing segments. These will be 2 minutes for each candidate. And Mr. Golden, we'll start with yours.
Well, thank you. As I've mentioned before, I've been flying professionally for 40 years. I flew as a captain on a Learjet and an MU-2 aircraft for 10 years at an air ambulance company out of Hayward. We went all over the country in these airplanes. Our save rate for the neonatal, which is the very sick young babies, was 96%. It is an absolute critical part of what airports provide. And again, I'm a very active member in the STEM program, and that is an outreach to our kids to get them involved with, it's an aeronautical project. It's a high-powered rocket project. I've been a community volunteer here in Truckee for over 20 years, and I forgot to mention, I appreciate that. I've been on the ACAT committee now. It's coming up on 8 years, and I've enjoyed working with all of the folks on ACAT greatly. Everybody brings a very valuable gift to the table on this, and it's been a privilege doing that, and I hope that I can look for a vote here. And if there's any questions or thoughts, Aronson Golden for Airport, for TruckeeTahoeAirport.com is our website, and there's lots of information in there. And again, thank you, everybody, for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stevens, your closing statement?
In addition to running a safe airport, the airport has made the following community expenditures: $363,000 this year to expanding TART service and making ridership free. We're a transportation hub. The airport was the first special district to join the Mountain Housing Council. We supported an apartment project in Truckee and $500,000 to Placer County's purchase of the Nahas property, 11.4 acres in Tahoe City, for housing. And the JPA, the Truckee-Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency, with the hospital and the school district and the TDPUD, hopefully will help housing. We spent $455,000 on trails over the last couple of years. The Boys and Girls Club of North Lake Tahoe and Truckee, $80,000 a year. Gateway Mountain Center, $125,000. The Nordic Search and Rescue, $375,000 for a new snowcat. Each year we spend $70,000 annually on sponsorships, $500 to $3,000 to local nonprofits, and partnerships, approximately $1 million a year. Over the past 4 years, the airport has spent $3 million on community and now collects $7 million a year from property tax. It would be great if the airport spent more money directly benefit our community. I became a full-time resident in 2007. In June of 2007, I was the project manager building Community House in Kings Beach. I'm on the Placer County Community Advisory Committee on TOT grants. I've been married for over 50 years, have 2 grown children and 1 grandchild. I have an engineering degree from Cornell and an MBA from Stanford. I served in the Army in '66 and '69 and 1 year in Vietnam and then in Germany. Since I was sworn in January of 2006, I've not missed a single meeting of the airport board. I'm running because community matters.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Mr. Aronson, your closing statement.
Again, my name is Ken Aronson, and I'm running for a seat on the Truckee-Tahoe Airport Board. I'm a 30-year resident of Truckee, and I come down to the airport almost every day to appreciate the benefits of airplanes and airports for our modern society. Without aviation, we would not have air ambulances, care flight, airborne firefighting operations that we certainly need right now. I enjoy watching the airplanes come and go. It's like watching a ballet. I really enjoy watching families come down to the airport with their children, their youngsters, and watching these airplanes. I advocate an airport for all. I think we more need to be at the airport to appreciate what it does. I have, for the past years, been volunteering hundreds, if not thousands, of hours with many groups. I was the Civil Air Patrol commander for 6 of those years, Experimental Aircraft Association. I did build my own airplane. I share that experience with children when we fly them each month. I have over 100 flights with the children. I'm called Commander Ken because I created the Mission to Mars Space Camp, a STEM or STEAM-based science, technology, engineering, art, and math-based program that I developed to inspire the non-aviation and aviation youth to become interested in aviation. working on the Mission to Mars program. I have heard from the parents quite a bit what the community wants at the airport. They want more STEM activities for the youth. Hundreds of kids try to sign up for our program. We can only take a very small fraction due to space constraints. That's why I'm advocating for the hangars 2, 3, it's called, the community activity program at community hangar at the airport. Hangar 2 was destroyed 5 years ago. We've been promised it would be rebuilt. Still hasn't been rebuilt. It would be a great place for the community to come. We'd love to have like a STEM Day Saturday in the middle of winter. I would love to have the kids come down to the airport and just do things and make things. Please vote for me, Ken Aronson, for the Truckee Tahoe Airport Board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And the final statement comes from Mr. Diamond.
Thank you, Rory. I'd like to thank the organizers of these candidate forums because this is a very valuable service to our region. Our airport is staffed with good people, and we have good people on our board. What we often lack is action and accountability. I'll bring to the airport board the same kind of action, follow through, and results that I've brought as chair of ACAT. A culture change like this takes time, but our airport board and staff have shown me nothing but support because they know we can do better. We just need to make sure we have the right people in place to get things done and move things forward. Our airport has the ability to move the needle on transportation, forest fuels reduction, and other regional concerns if we get strategic about partnerships with other districts and agencies. We cannot do this alone. But with regional benefit as a core focus, we can still help in community in the ways we do now. But we need greater discipline and strategy with regard to how we use airport resources to benefit our community. I support the concept of a community hangar, but it is estimated to be $10 to $12 million, which I think is outside the realm of what's reasonable. We can also do more about noise. There are options that can work better for everyone, but we need to be creative and open-minded about what's possible. We also need to remain committed to ongoing pilot education, not just about how to fly a noise procedure, but about why that's important. I'm rarely at a loss for an idea that can work for everyone, and I usually find a way to make things happen. Please visit diamond2020.com to see the 200 plus people who are currently supporting my campaign, including all 4 sitting airport board directors. If you agree with what I'm trying to do and you think our airport could benefit from some balanced ideas and action, please vote for me, David Diamond. You'll find me at the bottom of the ballot, but I would be honored to be your top choice for airport board. Thanks very much.
Thank you, David, for joining us from Cleveland. We're glad we could pull that off. And gentlemen in the room and David all together, thank you for serving the community. Again, there will be 3 open seats on the Truckee Tahoe Airport Board, so you may vote for 3 on your ballot. We're going to take another short break, reset the dais, and we're going to have a statement about Measure K, and we're going to have the Truckee Donner PUD candidates next. Please stay with us. To our second night of Candidates Night here at Truckee Town Hall. We are going to be getting a statement now on Measure K, and with us is Anna Klovstad and Perry Norris, and you may begin.
Good evening, Truckee. Thanks for having us tonight. We are so pleased to be here and share information with you about Measure K, which will be on your November ballot, along with the fine candidates you have been introduced to this evening and last night. So Measure K provides affordable housing for our residents, prepares our community for wildfires, and preserves natural open space without raising taxes for Truckee residents or businesses. A yes vote on K approves a modest 2% increase to the hotel tax rate paid by local hotel and short-term rental guests to provide local control funding for our community.
Good evening. Measure K is primarily a housing initiative, and as everyone knows who is in Truckee right now, our real estate market is in a frenzy, and it's only exacerbated a critical problem. I'd like to read an email that we received at the Measure K campaign. My husband is a small business owner, and I am a teacher in Truckee schools. We have saved over years and years to purchase a house. It has taken us years to come around to make an offer. Finally, we made an offer on a house only to be outbid by people offering all cash offers well above asking price. This is a story that has to do with the soul of our community. That basically our teachers, our police officers, our firemen, our service industry, our workers that make this town tick cannot afford to live here. Measure K will provide the town a long-needed revenue stream to address this critical problem. It will fund initiatives such as programs to make it easier to build backyard units or above-the-garage units, commonly called ADUs. It will create programs to incentivize homeowners to shift from short-term renting to long-term renting, a great strategy for unlocking our existing housing stock for urgent housing needs primarily held now in second homes, partnering with local nonprofits like the Sierra Community House to offer emergency rental assistance to our community members, 4, loan programs for first-time buyers, and 5, purchase deed restriction for locals to sell to other locals. None of these ideas are new. They just need a funding mechanism that Measure K will provide.
Thank you both.
We have a few more points if we could.
Okay. Please proceed, Anna.
Thank you. All right. So in addition to funding housing, Measure K is also focused on wildfire prevention. As we have seen, and you just have to walk outside to see, that our wildfires are getting larger, they're getting deadlier, and they're requiring us to close our forests. Measure K can help Truckee prepare and prevent wildfires. It will keep us safe by providing funding for preparation for wildfire evacuations, emergencies, and other possible natural disasters.
And finally, Measure K will help the town acquire and preserve open space that right now we probably take for granted. In the housing boom, it's followed by a real estate boom, and many of our treasured spots are at risk.
I would just like to point out that Measure K requires a clear system of fiscal accountability, including annual audits and public reviews of expenditures. We will make sure that the community understands exactly how much revenue is coming in and exactly where that revenue is going by including a citizens oversight committee as part of this funding source.
Measure K is a win-win. It improves our quality of life here in Truckee without costing the residents a penny. Community leaders, business owners, and longtime residents, as well as even those in the hospitality business, strongly support Measure K. We'd like your yes vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
And thank you for the presentation. Despite our efforts of our organizing committee, we have not identified a speaker who is willing to come here tonight and make a opposition statement to Measure K. However, we will make this offer that Tahoe-Truckee Media will come to you and videotape somebody who wants to speak in opposition, and we will edit it into this program, and we will give you as much time as they used precisely. So step forward, somebody. And now we will move on to Truckee Donner PUD Board candidates. You are next. We have 4 at the dais this evening. We have Jeff Bender, Bob Ellis, Joe Aguera, and Kim Harris. And we will begin with opening statements. Kim Harris, let's start with you. 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Kim Harris, and I ask you to vote for me for the Truckee Donner Public Utility Board. I've lived in Truckee for over 27 years. I met my husband, Aaron, here, and we have a daughter who was born at Tahoe Forest Hospital. She's now 16 years old, and she's a junior at Truckee High School. I have a bachelor's degree from UCLA in economics and business, and I currently work for the town of Truckee, and I am part owner of Truckee Laundry. My work history includes 6 years as a senior manager at the Truckee-Donner Public Utility District. I also worked 4 years at Tahoe Forest Hospital and 12 years at Tahoe-Donner Association. I do have board experience, including on the Seroptimus board as well as Sierra Meadows Homeowners Association, and I do help with the Truckee Boosters Club. I volunteer extensively with the Truckee Schools, Auburn Ski Club, Truckee Little League, and Truckee Parks and Rec. I love Truckee. I would be a great addition to the Truckee-Donner Public Utility Board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Joe Aguera.
Hello, thank you. My name is Joe Aguera. I've been a board member for the PUD for the last little over 32 years. And I think I've got another 4 to go on this next election. I've lived in Truckee for 52 years, and I used to have the mortuary funeral directing business here in town. And I had that for almost 40 years. My wife would be here. She'd say, only 38, Joe. I just rounded off. And right now, I live alone, and I want to stay on the board to finish some of these projects that we're on. And that's why I decided to run on this another time. And so...
Thank you, sir. Time's up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Bender.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jeff Bender, and I'm a professional engineer and general contractor. This is my 12th year as a director, and I am currently board president. It is my hope by the end of this forum, I will have earned your vote. The past year has been very challenging, to say the least, especially with COVID-19. The board went through an incredible transition process and hired a new general manager. Despite the pandemic, I have never been so excited to be on the board, and I hope to accomplish the following goals: 100% renewable power, gigabit communication, electrification, incentives, upgrading infrastructure, staying focused on safety, strategic planning, and community collaboration. I sincerely hope after tonight you do one thing: remember Bender when you vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ellis.
Hi, my name is Bob Ellis, and I've lived in Truckee for 30 years, and I enjoy being highly involved in this community. I enjoy the outdoors, skiing and ski racing in this area, and I'm also highly involved in the Far West Ski Association as a VP of racing. I also volunteer as a judge for the Far West Athletic Scholarship Program as a race official and as a race organizer. My education includes a Bachelor of Science degree from San Jose State University and an MBA from Pepperdine University. My experience includes working at Peterbilt Motors as an analyst, and as where I received good experience in working with financial forecasts, statements, and planning. I've been on the Truckee-Donner PUD board for the last 8 years. I think our decisions have been very good, including finding and hiring a new general manager based on parameters put together by the community, the employees, and the board. We have kept our rates for electric and water lower than the rate of inflation while reducing our debt load and improving the infrastructure. I'm a good decision maker. I am very good at analyzing issues, and I would like to ask for your support and your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. We will now move along to the question and answer portion of the forum. Remember to keep your answers to 1 minute again. Mayumi Elegado will pose the first question.
Earlier this month, the board increased its vegetation management budget by $500,000, up to $1.5 million. Is that enough in your mind? What other action could the district take towards wildfire prevention?
Mr. Aguera, if you will take the first answer.
Well, we started this fire prevention probably 10 years ago or so on, and the budget that time was like $250,000, and steadily it's been going up. And then with this fire paradise, we decided that we needed more. At one time, we even had 3 crews from our tree service company to stay up with what we needed. So we needed, and we found out that we needed this kind of money this year, especially the way the fires have been going in the state. So I think that's it's probably not enough money still, but it's going to have to be enough for that we entered in the budget. And that's $1.5 million.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Bender?
Thank you. So we were lucky enough to have an extra $1 million from less costs and power purchases and increased sales of electricity. So vegetation management, it's huge. Power safety shutoffs, we need to do more. We have current goals meeting the current California standards for vegetation management. This extra $500,000 towards this meets our goals for this year, but as I said, we need to do more. All this money that we're spending and will spend in the future allows us for a return on investment for undergrounding electrical. We did the beautification with the town of Truckee. We partnered with them right in front of the district there. We undergrounded electrical there. So there's now an opportunity for us to do increased vegetation management and underground our electrical where everyone benefits on that, including vegetation management and reduction of wildfires. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Ellis?
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. We do need to do more. I was a big proponent of vegetation management before it was very popular and before all these big fires. I've been very involved in trying to increase the budget. I'm glad to see we had the extra money that we could increase the budget by $500,000. It was a big decision. I do think we need to do more in the future to avoid any future wildfires or power outages because of that. At the last meeting, we did discuss undergrounding some of the lines in the future, and we will be looking at that as a safety issue also. So I fully support expanding the vegetation budget, and I think it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Harris?
Thank you very much. I do agree that fire prevention up here is extremely important, and we all know that from just smelling the smoke outdoors. I think the PUD has taken a step in the right direction with vegetation management, but I think that they could also reach out to the community and work with Truckee Fire and U.S. Forest Service to really educate the community. They have a great Learn or Burn presentation that helps the community understand about electricity and how electricity can really cause fires. And we should extend this out into the schools, into more promotion with the communities, with newsletters, and like I said before, partner with the other crews in the area, such as Truckee Fire as well as U.S. Forest Service, to continue that education so everybody can be a part of the solution to minimize wildfires.
Thank you. We go now to question 2. Mr. Bender, you'll have the first answer on this round. And here's Brian Hamilton.
Thank you. The district has recently announced efforts ahead to organize comprehensive strategic planning. How can the district engage the community into that fold, and why is that important?
Brian, really good question. So I'm smiling because we just kicked off strategic planning with a consultant here in town, Pam Hobday. She helped with an incredible job of the transition for our general manager. And so strategic planning, it's huge. As I listed all my goals that I want to accomplish, there's a lot of them. So we are going to reach out to the community. We're going to have a very robust community outreach program where we get input to help us prioritize these goals. Now, this is just my list that I've heard from the community of my goals, and we want to hear more. We want to prioritize. We want to use metrics to figure out what are we going to hit first in this community. So we really, strategic planning is huge. I'm really looking forward to it. Super excited about kicking off that process and planning for the years and decades to come for this utility district. Thank you.
Mr. Ellis, you're next.
Yeah, I agree that comprehensive strategic planning is very, very important. We did discuss it in detail at the last meeting, and I do believe that that's something that we need to do. It's also, it's all part of the water system and the electric system. I feel we're way ahead on the electric system, and we're a little behind on the water system, and we need to focus more on doing that. We also discussed that at our last meeting. And for example, right now the water system has 5 times more debt than the electric system has, but we have reduced our debt significantly in the last 8 years that I've been on the board, and in a few more years we may be debt free if we don't have any major issues. But strategic planning and using our new she's not new, but our consultant. She's been very helpful in helping us, and that's it. I'm cut off.
Very good. And Ms. Harris, your answer?
Thank you very much. Yes, so strategic planning is right up my alley because I am a human resources professional and have been in human resources for over 20 years. It's important to get all the players involved. People tend to support what they help create. I think it's super important to listen to the community, listen to the employees. The employees are a wealth of information, and also, you know, the board should be there to inspire and motivate people. I've been involved with so many different avenues and groups and communities here that I know a lot of the players, and the players that I don't know, I'm not afraid to reach out to inspire them and motivate them to share their information and to find out which direction they would like to see the PUD go in. But it's so important that if we do reach people to come in and share their information, we really need to show that we are implementing what they've said. We need to listen to them and just have their confidence there that we will do the right thing and have the players there.
Thank you. Time's up. And Mr. Aguera.
Yes, our new manager, our general manager, could probably put this plan together on his own. But I called him on a little advice for this strategic plan. And the plan's going to take a long time to do, and a couple months anyway. And more than a couple months. But then it's going to last us for a long time. So it's the future that we want to see that's coming up, and I think that we're going to start on there, and we're going to try to get as much of the community. Now, I know we're going to get the districts involved in all this, some of the districts, and then the public, the ratepayers, to come in and give us their input as to what they want to see on our plan. And so that's one of the reasons that I went for it too. That was good.
Thank you, Mr. Aguera. Time's up. And we will now move to question number 3, the final question of the evening. Mr. Ellis, you will start with the first answer to this question.
All right, last question of the evening. In your opinion, how is the district doing in terms of its energy mix? What are the constraints and what are the opportunities?
Okay, as far as our energy mix, I think we're doing a very good job. I think we were over 71% in renewables last month, and we lost about 8% because one of our renewable sources went offline for some repairs. So we would have been close to 80%. And 2 years from now, we're going to be adding the Red Mesa solar project. When we add that, the general manager, when I was talking to him a couple of days ago or whenever, said that we should be at 100% renewables during the day. So that's a good thing. As far as the constraints we're going to have is going on renewables 100% for 24 hours. So we're going to be looking at batteries and other aspects so we can do renewables 100% in the future. And as for the opportunities, we continue to search for new opportunities, and I believe we will be finding new sources to use, just like Red Mesa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Ms. Harris?
Thank you. So yes, the energy mix is important. There has been a lot of discussion about 100% renewables. I actually reached out to that group and asked them for their presentation that they gave to the Truckee-Donner PUD board, and they didn't have anything that they had actually come to present to them. So I would like to understand where they're coming from, because I know that they've done a lot of research on climate change. I would look to them for information on ways that we can improve that mix and go towards 100% renewables. Other opportunities that I see is that, there's energy conservation is a big deal, and I know that we have like those home inspections where they'll go in and they'll look at your home to make sure it's energy efficient. I don't know if we've really reached out to the Hispanic community to ensure that they are doing everything that they can for energy conservation. So that's another way of incorporating the community into our solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aguera.
Hey, we had a electric engineer with us when this all started, when the state started to ask that we should go to 19% of renewables, and he got us right there. In fact, he bypassed that at that time, and every year he's just been coming up to where we are now at between 75 and 80%. And as far as the mix goes, we'll when we get to the deadline, when the state says they want 100%, I know that we'll be there. So that's it.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Bender.
Thank you, Mayumi. How is our mix doing? I think it's doing great. I did mention my goal of 100% renewable energy with the 100-year anniversary of the Truckee-Donner PUD. That happens in 2027. So I think that's an awesome goal. It aligns ourselves with the town and what other communities are doing in the country. Strengths and opportunities. We have some really good outlook for additional renewable. We have a large user and a few other large users who we can deploy fully renewable power sources to. So that just grabbing those customers and putting them on 100% renewable power will increase our renewable power purchases and theirs. There's also 3 other things we're looking at: methane generation at the sanitary plant, Boca hydroelectric plant. They're building a new dam out there right in our backyard, and then also batteries. So the future is bright. Thank you.
Very good. That brings us to the end of the question and answer period. It's time now for the 2-minute closing segments, and we are going to start with Ms. Harris. You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, Rory, and Tahoe-Truckee Media for having this. It's a nice opportunity for us to get to know, or for the community to get to know us. I do stand for transparency, fiscal responsibility, and community involvement. At the last board meeting, they did talk about the strategic plan process, which was one of our questions, and I'm glad that you asked that, because it does involve the community, the employees, and the board. The process is designed to gather feedback from these different groups to develop the focus for the district to get the community what it wants. I have the energy, I have the understanding of the operations at the PUD from my 6 years as a senior manager of the district to support the process and ensure the community is encouraged to participate and priorities are identified and implemented. Through my process of running through the board, some people have already expressed the direction they would like to see the district take. It is important for them to have a voice. I've heard items such as 100% renewable energy, embracing our technology for simple items such as streamlining application processes on the website. Safety of the employees is absolutely at the top of our list, and improved communications of the happenings at the district. I will continue to ask the community, and I will listen to them. The strategic process is an important first step and should be supported, but it's not the end. The financial side of managing the district is also important to keep the quality water and electric service going in a fiscally responsible way. Items such as contract evaluation to make sure the district's return on investment, costs of goods and services, and coverages are reviewed and addressed. I have the energy. I ask you for your vote. You can check out my website, harrisfortruckeedonnerpud.com, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Aguera, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Kat and the Chamber of Commerce and Truckee Media for having this forum so we can introduce ourselves. Now, some people I think already know me since I've been here about 30 years, but as one member can't do or can't change anything on the board, but as a member on the board for as long as I've been on there, I think that I voted the right way, since I think that our PUD is one of the best PUDs, or the best PUD in the state, and we're streamlined, we're going along good, and we have a brand new manager that knows his stuff, and I think that we're going to do good in the next, and I'd like to work with him for the next 4 years. So I would appreciate your vote again. And I thought that I counted, I think I went through 8 elections. I was appointed the first term that I was on the PUD. So I can't remember what that was, whether it was 8 months or a year, but I served that time, and then I had to run for office, and that was my first election, and that was 8 elections ago. And that's all so far. Thank you for your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Aguera. Mr. Bender?
I would like to thank everyone for watching tonight, and thank you to all the folks here and sponsors who put these forums together. I am a professional engineer and general contractor. This is my 12th year as a director, and I am currently board president. I have been a full-time resident for almost 20 years, and I live here with my wife and 2 children and dog. We are in some challenging times with coronavirus, and even with everything going on, I have never been so excited to be on the board. The hiring of the new general manager was the most important decision and process I have gone through with the district. It was over a year of intense determination of values, skill sets, interview questions, and finally, the selection and hiring of our new general manager. I have a lot of goals for the district: 100% renewable power by 2027, the 100th anniversary of the PUD, gigabit broadband communication. With emergency communication and online learning at the forefront of our lives, improved communication services are critical. Increased incentives for electrification and energy and water efficiency upgrades, upgrading our water and power infrastructure, staying focused on safety, minimizing power shutoffs, strategic planning so we have a clear vision of the future, community collaboration to find project and community improvement synergies, and most important, and I live by this, continuous improvement. These are not easy tasks, but I am very excited to take them on in a fiscally and environmentally responsible manner. I sincerely hope I have earned your vote tonight. And please remember to vote Bender and check out my Facebook page, not a website, at Bender for PUD. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bender. And finally, Mr. Ellis.
Thank you. As a board of director, I pride myself on being prepared, understanding the issues, and contributing positively to the discussion in our meetings. Some of the issues are complex and controversial, and I believe we have performed very well in guiding the district in the correct direction. We have made decisions that have saved money on our financing, equipment, and projects in the last few years. We have also reduced our debt and have made timely decisions to help the future of the PUD. Just like you, I want clean water and dependable renewable electric energy at the lowest possible cost while maintaining excellent customer service. We have worked diligently to reduce the number of power outages by increasing the budget to trim trees near our power lines. We have reduced the amount of greenhouse gases emitted with our usage of the Horse Butte Wind Farm, and in 2 years we'll be adding the Red Mesa Solar Project, which should give us 100% renewable during the day. We continue to increase our revenue received through the California Cap and Trade Program, and we're at the forefront of technology. As a board director, my main goal is to make informed decisions on improving the quality of services while being environmentally friendly and maintaining the lowest possible cost to the ratepayer. I welcome your support and vote, and I look forward to maintaining the course on the Truckee-Donner PUD. Please vote for Bob Ellis on Election Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis, and thank you to all the candidates. And again, there will be 3 open seats at Truckee-Donner PUD board. You may vote for 3 people on your ballot. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for the kind remarks. As a community access media center, this is one of the most important projects we do. This biannual project we get together here is, I think, as important as anything else we do. I want to thank Sierra Sun and Moonshine, Inc., our sponsors, Contractors Association of Truckee Tahoe, PAC, and the Tahoe Sierra Board of Realtors, the Truckee Chamber of Commerce. You can see this program again and again, along with the one from last night, between now and Election Day. And if you go to truckeetahoemedia.org, you'll see the times and dates that you can see those. Thank you again to our timekeeper, Ms. Lynn Saunders, again, Mayumi, Elegado, and Brian Hamilton. And we wish you luck, Brian, after 22 years at the Union and Sun. On behalf of my technical crew, Tom Ballister, Dan Martin, I'm Rory O'Farrell. That concludes tonight's program. Thank you for being here, and thank you for watching. And remember to vote, please. Good night.